What is going on, everybody? We are back at it again. Week interview. We're actually in week number 5 this time. Chipmunk kind of got the belt. Parents pull up the belt. But anyways, we won't talk about that. He's back. He's here to record the week in review. Chipmunk, how are you? How are you doing? How are you surviving?
It's been tough out here. I'm definitely having a hard time surviving, but I manage.
He's managing. That's what I like to hear. And we're also joined by Eminem VP, who's making his glorious return.
Let's go, baby.
So there's Eminem VP, and we got a new face on the show. We got Sage Burner recently added. His title on here is definitely fair. The prospect player.
Let's go.
Well,
I'm happy to be here.
That's what I like to hear. We gotta bring some new faces. We gotta spice things up, and yeah. So we're kind of in the past couple of weeks that we missed. There's been a couple of interesting developments. Nothing. I mean, there's been some crazy stuff. I don't think we have enough time in this video to capture all of it. We're trying to keep everything quick, but I know some notable things. At least some of the things I remember is Linty Ant got dropped from Pinnacle due to roster space. So Linty is no longer on Pinnacle. I'm trying to look through the transactions to see what else there was. There was a lot of moving around. There is like an absurd amount of transactions this season. I don't remember the last time we had this, but the Vortex now has Proxy. So that's the thing that happened.
Yes, sir.
Apparently Proxy's pretty cracked for you guys. You guys we're going to talk about it later, but you guys are actually able to pick up your first couple wins of the season. So
Sage, you're on Origin. I want to hear it.
Hey, dude, Origin Season 1 champs, by the way. Thank you, Chipmunk, for allowing me to bring that up. I appreciate it. But yeah, things have been crazy the past couple weeks, and we just this week we just hit the halfway point in the season. So this week, number 5 here, we've got the mid-season back-to-back cross-conference showdown here. So all these teams in Prospect through Rival, they played both on Monday and Wednesday, so it allowed for some very interesting matchups. And we're gonna start in Prospect League. Before we do, I want to take a quick look at the power rankings. We'll force Chipmunk to pull this up on screen later, so you should be able to see it like right about now. Chipmunk is where we're gonna insert the power rankings, so don't forget. All right,
I'm forgetting.
Perfect. But so yeah, you can see the power rankings on the screen. Different from last week. You can see a couple teams moving up and down. Melons still holding on to their number 1 spot. They're Faded moved up. Aurora, they've struggled recently, dropping down to 3 only there. We're going to talk more about them later. But yeah, Melons still holding on strong. There are a couple other movements around and about, but yeah, we'll get into Monday. Obviously, Sage, he's got the insight. He knows all about the Prospect League and all the drama that comes with us. So, Sage, why don't you tell us about what happened on Monday for Prospect?
So, Dez's Vipers were able to steal a 3-0 sweep over the New Aurora. They were struggling last week with Chillin, so they decided to drop him and trade for Muffin. And I talked to Muffin earlier in the week, and he just said that he was never able to get it clicking against the Vipers, which allowed them to get the 3-0 sweep. And Velocity, the number 9 team, was able to steal a game from the number steal the series, actually. It was 3-1. I was able to talk to JD earlier in the week, and he said Andrew was at 200 ping entire series and chilling. The number 10 Wyverns were a series from 7. Ember recently picked up Siri from Tora. The key player has gone there for Tora. But Ember was not able to take the series from Wyverns. And Faded on Stream was able to beat that new Tora roster 3-1. Tora made a ton of changes this week. And just looked like they couldn't get anything clicking. And the Rooks were able to take Game 5 against Origin 3-2. Rooks also have a brand new roster. They decided to drop Sir Legend the 7th and pick up Dre. It's looking like that was a smart move by them.
Yeah, it's Prospect League. Prospect League on Monday was definitely interesting. Yeah, you talked about all those matchups. They were. Then there's you got the insight on the drama there. So Sir Legend got dropped, but he actually got picked up recently by Velocity. I know he's definitely a talked about player in the Prospect League. What do you know about his move to Velocity?
I was actually there for the tryout. It was between me and him. I decided that I wanted to go to Origin and that he could have the spot on Velocity. And it sounds like Velocity actually wants to pick up Slipknot, another talked about player in Prospect. So that could be an interesting team right there.
Well, we'll have to see. Yeah, definitely some interesting moves coming out in Prospect. And then what can you tell us about the Wednesday matchups quickly? Maybe give us a couple of the highlight matchups. Give us the rundown from Wednesday.
Origin bounced back from that Game 5 loss and was able to sweep the Rooks 3-0. The Melons got their revenge. I was actually subbing in that game 3-1 against Velocity. And Aurora got reverse swept. I talked to Muffin again. He said they had all the momentum those first two games, and Dez single-handedly brought the Vipers back down 2-0. Faded, again, playing that new Toro roster, got the 3-1 win, and Wyverns were able to take another series off of Ember.
Yeah, so out of all of that, it looks like the only teams that were able to switch things around were Origin and Melons, if I'm looking at this correctly. Yeah, Origin and Melons able to, after losing on Monday, are able to win on Wednesday. Otherwise, the Vipers, Faded, and Wyverns able to pull off the 2-0 for the week. So good on them. And taking a peek at the standings right now for Prospect League, we're still kind of looking in slightly similar spots what we saw at the beginning of the season. There hasn't been too much movement around as of recent, but things are definitely getting close here. Faded, they're still at 8-2 there, lead in the top of the Western Conference. Vipers, though, are close behind. They've made a run of recent. They're at 7-3, and they're definitely looking good there, as we talked about, able to pull off the back-to-back wins against Aurora, who, coming into this week, Aurora, they were, as we talked about, they're rated number 3 in the power rankings. The Vipers were at 4, so it wasn't too big of an upset, but Aurora going down again, they've definitely been on a little bit of a slump as of recently, as they've dropped all the way down to 5-5 in the East. Melons there 8-2. So Aurora's 3 games back, only 1 game ahead of Origin now, who's at 4-6. That Prospect League Eastern Conference, it's shaken up a little bit down there, and we'll have to see how it goes as the season progresses. But now that we're past the halfway point, trade deadline is this Sunday, so the rosters are going to be locked and teams are going to start making their pushes. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the Prospect League and see what more drama comes out of it, because there's always some Prospect League drama. So we'll have to see how it's going to turn out as we go on. All right, and next up, we are going to head to the Challenger League. And Challenger League, it's been a little bit interesting. There hasn't been as much drama or insanely eventful events in the Challenger League, but there's still been some crazy performances coming out this week. And looking at the power rankings, which Chipmunk, again, he's going to pull him up right now. I like him. He's putting in a workout here. Gotta respect Chipmunk. Leave him some love in the comments section for our boy Chipmunk making his return. But looking at the power rankings for Challenger League, again, we've got the Drakes on top. As is expected here, they're absolutely dominating the Challenger League right now. It's just not even fair at this point. They're 9-1 at the moment, sitting at number 1 of the power rankings. Well deserved. Samurai right behind them at 2. Orbit at 3. Ascension moved up to 4. Dissolve, they've been making a little bit of a run. We'll talk a little bit more about them, but they've been looking good as of recent. They're at number 5, and you can see a couple other teams rounding it out there. But yeah, so those are the top 5 teams, and we're gonna look at this week, this past week here. I'm gonna start with Monday here, looking at things again. As I talked about the Drakes just dominating the league, they had a 3-0 sweep over Flame, and again, the Drakes, they've gotten so many sweeps this season. I believe, looking back at it, they've only dropped 6 games in the entire season. And that's just insane to me. And they've had 6 sweeps as well to go along with that. So there's absolutely manhandling everybody at the moment in the Challenger League. I don't know who's going to beat them. Really, they're just looking so good at the moment, and they're really hitting their peak. But it's a question of, is it going to be too soon? I'm not sure. We'll have to keep our eyes open, because we know the Dragons, as of last season, they looked like they were dominating the rival league, and then when playoff time came around, they weren't the same team. So we'll have to see if the Drakes are going to be able to hold together throughout the entire season. But yeah, look at the other matches. We got Dissolved. They're able to take a 3-1 win. They're looking good this week. They've had a couple of solid wins as of recent. And then a couple other matchups. Samurai 3-0 Motion. Orbit had a forfeit win over Venom. Rip Venom, struggling out here. And then Bishop's 3-1 Ascension on stream. We actually saw both of those matches on stream. And I'm gonna leave Wednesday to Eminem. Eminem, what happened in Challenger League on Wednesday?
Well, on Wednesday, we had a game that I was casting between the Bishops and Ascension, and there was a reverse sweep from the Bishops, which is a really interesting game. I don't know too much about every other game, just besides the scores, really. But you had Bishops, the reverse sweep. It was really close. Ascension seemed to have all the momentum in that game, and then Bishops just turned it around in game 3 and then weren't stopped at all. You had Venom, who had a sweep on Orbit. Venom's kind of starting to get some momentum in the season, which is kind of out of nowhere, but somewhat expected from the people that know him best. You had Spectre getting swept by Dissolved, and it seemed to be a lot of sweeps this week in the Challenger League, because not just there was a sweep in that game and the Venom game, but there's also another sweep between the Drakes and Flame. Drake sweeping Flame 3-0. So that's about all I have really for the Challenger League on Wednesday. I don't know too much about the games in depth besides the one on stream, but those were the Wednesday games for the Challenger League.
Yeah, again, you see the 3 sweeps coming out on a Wednesday, and then the reverse sweep, as you talked about, Ascension going down to the Bishops there on stream. We saw that one. That's a pretty crazy series for the Bishops there. So taking a look at the standings real quick in the Challenger League, obviously we talked about the Drakes 9-1, sitting at top of the West. But surprisingly, as I talked about, this is kind of one of the things that surprised me the most looking at the standings, was that Dissolved, they're at 7-3 right now, out of nowhere there, sitting 2 games back only of the Drakes. So Dissolved, they're kind of a dark horse there. They weren't rated too high on the power rankings. They're sitting at 5th, so right in the middle of the pack. But they've, I think people really got to start looking out. Dissolved, they could be making some moves here as the season, as we pass this halfway point now, heading forward. Definitely got to keep our eye on Dissolved there, who have definitely made some moves. And then taking a peek over at the East, we got the Samurai, again, still holding on the lead, but Orbit and Ascension, they're close behind. Ascension 2 games back, Orbit's only 1 game back. Other than that, the East looks pretty much like Samurai, Orbit, and Ascension are going to be, at the moment, they're holding on to the 3 playoff spots. Flame and Spectre down there 2-8. So it's looking like a 3-horse race there in the East. And kind of the same in the West, but you talked about Venom. They were able to pull out that win despite having to forfeit on Monday. So they're still hanging around there in the 4th spot as well. So that's the Challenger League this week. We're definitely going to keep our eyes out going into next week. Challenger, I'm hoping we get some more spicy matchups. Challengers they're just kind of hanging in there right now. At Prospect, they have a bunch of drama. Rival and Titan, they also have a decent bit of drama and trades going down. But Challenger, they're just kind of chilling around. The Drakes they're just smacking teams, and everyone else is just kind of hanging on. So I'm hoping to see some more interesting matchups coming up for the Challenger League as we head into week number 6. All right, and next up, we've got the Rival League here. First, we're going to take a peek once again at the power rankings. As you can see, the Knights, they are holding on to that number 1 spot. Still undefeated. I think the second, one of 2 remaining undefeated teams, Grandmasters, they're at 7-0. They've matched the record of the Dragons from last season. We'll talk a little more about them later, but the Knights, they have clicked off 10 straight wins, have not yet to lose a series. They were pushed to the brink there against the Blaze roster, but they were unable to fall. So Knights still obviously holding on to that number 1 spot there. Blaze sitting at number 2, Hydra 3, Galaxy 4, Kings 5. You can see the rest down below there. Surprising Distortion dropped to 7. I thought that was interesting as well there. But yeah, you can see the power rankings there, and we'll get into the matches. We got 2 of our rival boys here to talk about them. Eminem, I'll leave it to you for Monday. You obviously know, you got the details. What can you tell us about Monday's matchup in Rival?
Well, Vortex got their first win that wasn't a forfeit. It's kind of easy though, taking their first win over the number 4 team Galaxy. They're expected to do even better throughout the season. But we had Hydra falling to Blaze on a reverse sweep. I remember that game happening. Very hilarious. A lot of trash talk coming out from Hydra. They still managed to lose. Interesting there. But not expecting to see much from Hydra anytime soon. And we had Kings take a rival 3-1. I mean, there's a chance for a rival, but I don't know if it's going to come around. With Kings been doing pretty well lately, able to get a good win on a rival. And then we had a sweep between Knights and Lightspeed, which is honestly just very expected. Knights being number 1 in the power rankings and Lightspeed being number 10. So expect to see more from the Knights coming out to the rest of the season, because the Knights are absolutely nuts. And we had Parallax 3-1 Distortion, who Distortion was number 7 and Parallax was number 6 in the power rankings this week. So you got a close one there between them, and Parallax was able to take it 3-1. And there's also some beef that's been going on in the rival league, it seems, between this guy, what's his name, Benji, and Eminem VP. A little bit of beef going on. Benji thinking that he's good, when realistically it's not exactly what's going on. But yeah, that's going to basically be some of your rival league action on Monday for this week. And I guess we can move down to Wednesday possibly.
So yeah, we got Wednesday. The first match being Vortex Galaxy, which was a pretty easy dub. It was on stream as well, but pretty easy dub. Vortex taking that 3-1. Proxy absolute carry for me and Eminem VP. But look at the next match. We have Kings Arrival, and Kings ended up taking that 3-0. Very expected, as it's a rival. Like, what do you expect? You also did Arrival. I don't know what you expect from them.
No. We're on the come up. We had to give ourselves a little bit of a handicap to start the season.
Come up from what?
We already beat Vortex, so that's all that matters. I don't.
Okay.
You're
August 5th. Get ready for August 5th. All right.
August 5th. We're going down, dude.
August 5th.
It's over, dude. We're gonna put you guys in your place once and for all.
That's a funny
August
joke.
5th.
You know what? Your jokes are actually really funny. Now I realize it.
Just wait, dude. 0-2, Chipmunk. 0-2. You keep going.
Yeah, that's funny.
0-2. Wait, what are we talking about with 0-2?
He's never beat me in a Nemesis match. He's 0-2.
Oh, he sucks.
So, yeah, true. All right. Anyways,
that goes for you as well. Anyways, we have Distortion Parallax as well. Distortion ended up taking that 3-1 as we look. Actually, Distortion number 7 in the Power Kings, Parallax number 6, and you expect them to be really close, but Distortion ended up taking that 3-1, and Distortion actually a pretty good team now that I see it, and Knights also another sweep over Lightspeed. Not much to talk about there, and Blaze 3-0 Hydra as well. Heck really just coming out, being Monkey Man, and getting all the goals, and I actually, that was actually on a certain stream called twitch.tv/SNRL. Not to.
All right, buddy. All right, buddy.
Not to promote.
He's so promoting out here.
That's Twitch, Nemesis Gaming League, and then
obviously twitch.tv/MNMVP.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously.
Oh, gosh.
Obviously. If you want the most quality tournaments of all time, that's where you go.
Yes.
Besides the bi-weekly tournaments, of course.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
The thing about the MVP tournaments is that they're always casted by your number 1 favorite caster,
Rockerman.
MVP.
Wait, I'm not casting. Anyways, moving on here. That's the rival league for this week for the matchups there. I want to take one more peek at the standings before we move on. Obviously, we talked about the Knights. Looking over at the East here, they're 10-0, leading things very strongly there. Blaze right behind at 9-1, only one game back. The one loss came to the Knights. The Blaze, they're holding pace there, which is, despite them losing their first match there, able to hold on. Their Parallax holding the final spot for the playoff position at 6-4 in the East. And then looking over at the West, now the West has gotten interesting for sure. The Kings are actually at the top there at 6-4 at the moment. Hydra and Distortion both tied at 5-5. And something we didn't mention, but Eminem kind of touched briefly on with Hydra, is that they've actually traded Magma. Magma's not only been traded once, but he's been traded twice. He's getting passed around a little bit here. So Magma first went to Lightspeed. Magma and Chax to Lightspeed for OBR and Beef, and then Magma goes to Vortex for Ori.
Yes, sir.
And Chipmunk, what can you tell us about all that happened with Magma and Ori and this whole essentially a three-way trade?
Dude, I mean, it was definitely for Hydra, terrible trade. I've talked about this to other people before. Everyone agrees. Terrible trade. For Lightspeed, it was pretty good, because they got Magma. But then I just took Magma away from Lightspeed, and now they have Ori. And I just felt that our playstyle, if we just put Ori in, it's just a worse playstyle of the one we have now. So we decided to get a different kind of playstyle and get Magma. And if we want another type of playstyle, then we put an Eminem VP.
Yeah, we're the team being really well between me, Proxy, and Magma. Having a good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Chipmunk Man being a power sub is what we're talking about.
Yeah, we definitely didn't talk about earlier about you being sub.
And just going into the season knowing the All-Star MVP, season MVP, Eminem MVP.
What, Proxy? Oh.
Anyways, yeah, so those are a couple of the crazy trades. There were also some more moves that happened. There's a lot of moves really that happened since the last time that we talked, but that was kind of the major, most recent one. Magma moving from Hydra to Vortex. So Hydra, as we talked about, it's something I've talked about with a couple other people as well. I do not see Hydra being really much of a threat anymore, and it's actually somehow, some way, has opened the door for Vortex, who are only 2 games back of the final spot in the West. So Vortex, after starting 0-7, has a chance to make the playoffs here at the halfway point. So Vortex, we're going to keep our eyes out for them. Obviously, able to pick up 2 wins this week over Galaxy. So we're going to keep our eyes open, especially with this new Magma trade. So definitely be on the lookout. All right, and last but not least, we have the Titan League, top league in Nemesis. Always interesting action going out here. Taking a look first at the power rankings. Once again, Grandmasters, they're holding on to their spot. Actually, the top 5 teams remain unchanged for the Titan League. Everyone the power rankers kind of realizing, okay, this is where everybody's kind of sitting right now. So Grandmasters at 1, Venganza 2, Nebula 3, Pinnacle 4, Dragons 5. You can see the last 3 there as well. So Grandmasters, again, we talked about them, and they're holding on to that number 1 spot at the moment. Looking at transactions before we get into anything, there weren't too many crazy transactions, or actually one today that was a little bit surprising. The Dragons from last season, who Els, Edwin, and Rhino Neal, they started out 7-0, like I referenced earlier. They actually dropped Els and Edwin just this morning at the time of us recording this video. So another crazy move in Titan. I already talked about Linty. Actually, I don't know if I talked about Linty, but Linty Ant was dropped from Pinnacle. Might have been something I referenced earlier. So that whole lineup is different for my team there on Pinnacle at the moment. Nothing else too crazy for Titan. Everyone's just kind of chilling, kind of playing their games there. And speaking of games, we'll get into Monday with Chipmunk. What can you tell us about Monday's matches?
I can tell you a lot about Monday's matches. First up, we have Heatwave and Gonza. Ended up being a 3-1. 3-1 for Heatwave. And, pretty big upset. Heatwave being number 7 and Venganza being number 2. I've heard, me being the GM of Org D and also Venganza, there was a little bit of beef in the voice comms between Ladog and H. So, we ended up dropping H and picking up another player named 4. And ended up working out for us. And, that Heatwave and Guns game was also on stream, so you all could check that out. And also, Grandmasters 3-1 Dragons. And as we talked about, the Dragons ended up dropping 2 of their players as they lost both games this week. Also, Pinnacle 3-0 Inferno. No surprise there, as Inferno being the last team on the power rankings. And Nebula 3-2 Gravity. Also not really a surprise there. Nebula being number 3 and Gravity being number 6. And, actually Gravity putting up a pretty good fight as they took it to Game 5, but couldn't take the series.
Yeah, definitely some close matches there. Again, Grandmasters, like you talked about, able to hold on. Nebula, that one also surprised me, 3-2. They've had a couple of matches like that recently going to Game 5, so Nebula able to hold on that one. But looking at Wednesday here, we got another win for Heatwave. Heatwave, as he talked about, they're kind of coming out of nowhere to make a little bit of a run. All of a sudden, they're sitting at 4-4 on the season. So Heatwave looking good, able to take down the Dragons. That game might have been the catalyst to the dropping of Els and Edwin. So I'm gonna be curious to see what the Dragons' next move is roster wise going forward. But second matchup on here, Venganza with a 3-2 win over Pinnacle. Another very close series here. Pinnacle with the new roster, as we talked about. Bagel's the only surviving member from the beginning of the season. Able to push Venganza to a Game 5, but Venganza, as Chipmunk talked about, with a new player in 4, able to just squeak out the victory there in Game 5. And then Inferno taking a forfeit win over Gravity on Wednesday. So taking a look at the standings real quick. We're looking at this one. Grandmasters, they're still sitting at 7-0 at the moment. Venganza not too far behind there at 5-3. Dragons, Gravity, and Inferno in the East there. They're all sitting at 2-6, so looking like a little bit of struggle. There's still some time to go, but with the Titan League schedule only having 12 games on the docks there, it's gonna be a little bit of a struggle for the Dragons and Gravity to make a comeback there. So we'll have to keep our eyes open though. You never know what can happen. But looking over at the East, you have Nebula still sitting in the top spot at 5-2. Then Pinnacle and Heatwave, as we talked about, both at 4-4, only one game back of that. So things are getting close there in the Titan League. I'm very curious to see how it's all going to turn out, because the Titan League, obviously our top league, and these guys are going at it every week, and there's some crazy gameplay for sure there. So we'll have to see how it's going to turn out. There's only a couple more games left in the season for these guys, so every game is going to matter, and I'm sure we're going to have some really solid games on stream. So make sure you guys stay tuned and check those ones out. But yeah, I think we're going to move on to our last point here, which is what is coming up here. And first, that's coming up, we want to talk about Saturday Night Rocket League, which actually, I'm not sure when Chipmunk is posting this video, but it could be tonight if you're watching this video on Saturday. Otherwise, Saturday Night Rocket League matches for the 18th. We got Motion versus Samurai kicking things off in the Challenger League. Interesting matchup there to start things off there. Samurai, as we talked about, they're sitting at number 1 in the East at the moment, so they gotta hope to pull out a win to somehow maintain pace with Dissolved over there, who we talked about at 7-3, and then Drake's at 9-1, and then Motion, they're coming to this matchup. They're coming to this matchup at 2-7, but they've had some promising times recently. So we'll have to see if they can pull it out. I believe they just got a win recently, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that, but I'm sure Motion can definitely put up a good fight here. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for that one, which is our first matchup. That is going to get things started at 8 p.m. Eastern. So Motion versus Samurai, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then our 8:45 matchup. This is going to be a matchup for sure. I'm super excited about this one. We've got the top 2 teams in the Titan League going at it on Saturday Night Rocket League. We've got the Grandmasters at 7-0 and Nebula at 5-2. This matchup is going to be absolutely insane. I know we got Bagels and Linty on the cast there. It should be a crazy matchup there. I'm super excited to see how this one turns out. It definitely could be a finals preview for the Titan League. So everyone make sure you guys tune in. That one's going to go in at 8:45 Eastern on Saturday night. So stay tuned and look out for that. And last thing I want to talk about, we also have something coming up in 2 weeks on the 25th. We've got All-Stars, and the All-Star voting, it's already up. There's going to be a link in the description. If you haven't voted for All-Stars, make sure you guys get your votes in down below. Head to the description, click on the link for the All-Star voting, and get your votes in, get your voices heard, because you are going to help choose the All-Star players who are going to be competing for a chance at $60 for the All-Star, just for this one night for All-Stars. So $60 is on the line for all of these players. So it should be crazy. Make sure you guys get your votes in there.
MVP.
I'm an MVP. I had to throw it out there. Make sure you guys get your votes in. There's a lot of really good players, a lot of deserving players. Management is going to pick one player for each conference to start in the All-Star game, and you guys are going to select 3 more players to compete. You're going to have 2 starters and then 1 reserve player. So make sure you guys get your votes in there. And yeah, it should be a great night. It's going to get started, like I said, on the 25th. So that's next Saturday at 6:30 Eastern. We're going to have the GM Showdown. GM Showdown last season, the East was able to pull it out. Let's go East. East represent.
Shut up.
East is hoping to do it again here. Chipmunk, the Western GM. Unfortunately, he got beat by the East. The East was just too overpowered.
That's a
We've
funny
got
joke.
We've got the best GMs. We're coming back again. We're going for the second season in a row for the East. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna spice things up a little bit. I'm sure the GM Showdown, it's gonna be interesting. So you guys do not want to miss it. That's next week. Everything gets going at 6:30, and then we have the All-Star games right after, following. Right in a row, we got Prospect, Challenger, Rival, and Titan. All 4 of the All-Star games are going to be happening next Saturday as well. And as I said, you guys can vote on the stars and decide the starting lineup. So get your votes in below, and yeah, it's gonna be a great night.